Hello, everybody. Welcome to another enthralling episode of Travel Daily Inspiring Women in Travel in Asia series. I'm Megha Paul, and today I am sitting with Christina Ho, and she's an amazing woman. She's just taken me through her journey. She's an artist, she's a fashion designer, she's an air hostess, and right now she's a flying pilot with an extremely renowned airline company. So, hi, Christina, welcome here. Uh, and yes, I would want you to speak about your journey. How did the journey from being a designer, an artist, to an air hostess and now a flying pilot pan out?
Hi, Meha. I'm happy to be here today, and I'm Christina. Today, I'm just gonna quickly go through a little story about me. Currently, I'm an airline pilot for an international airline that based in Hong Kong. And a lot of people just think that, oh, pilots supposed to come from a STEM background or very good at math, like that when you're students. But actually, I'm coming from a totally different background, as Meha said. I studied fine arts and I become a fashion designer when I was younger. Actually, I come from Hong Kong and a very traditional family, and my parents are just like the other parents, liking their children to study academic, very good at that, and then become doctors or lawyers and stuff. But then I just discovered that I really, really like arts. So I tell my parents that I really want to go study somewhere else, just to explore the world, but at the same time also pursue my artist dream. But my parents just think that, oh, she should be joking or something. And I'm the first child. I think they want to keep me aside, like keep me on the side.
Yeah.
So and then I just go online and look for scholarship, and then a lot of them I go to a lot of them, but not many of them taking me. But there was one taking me, and I can go for a high school in USA. So I went to United States to study high school. But and then my parents finally say yes that I can go and go on my own way and bring in my little door and just go on that flight. So I study fine arts there and try different classes, especially like high school in US, right? So it's kind of like a high school musical. You watch, has a lot of different subjects that you can try. So I go on it, and then I study my university in United States, and then I do fine arts at that time. I do oil paintings, ceramics, and even sculptures. I do all kinds of things, but I come into a questions of um, how can I communicate with people more if my arts were just put in their art gallery, because it's so cold when I just telling my own message to people instead of having that interactions. So I just end up in design industry, and then I do fashion design. So I can actually create dresses, create clothes for people to wear, and people did get more confidence. That is how I end up in that industry. And I also went into that industry, worked in that industry for a couple of years time. Then I come again another questions thinking, oh, I've been traveling so much, doing different part-times and explore the world. I'm still very young. I still want to go see the world again after I learned so much in that industry. So then I just thought of traveling. So I end up in aviation, end up in a travel industry. So I become a flight attendant for the current airline that I'm working for. And I just thought it's going to give me a lot of explore the world, meeting a lots of people, no matter it's colleagues or passenger or people that is in different areas. But then I just never thought that is change that come to me. That one time I able to sit in the cockpit in the jump seat, to see the whole procedure, how they fly a plane when I was going on a leisure travel flights to my friend's wedding. And because it was so full, and then the captain was so nice that releasing that seat for me. And I just thought, oh, it's gonna be fun, but I wasn't thinking that much. And then when I get into it, I saw that 207 degrees view, and also seeing how they really multitask, and how ground staff come back and forth asking questions, and they have to deal with it at the same time. And also experience my first takeoff and landing in the cockpit, and seeing all those lights keep coming to your hearts, and it just is so fast. I just feel like, oh, this is something that I really, really want to do. And so I make myself a promising that I want to be a pilot. And then I went through all the interviews and trainings, which I can talk about it later. Yeah. And then currently an airline pilot now.
You know, it is kind of so amazing to know that you made the shift from being an air hostess to being a pilot, because, you know, these two professions, we thought they're so segregated that we never thought, or at least I didn't, that somebody from an air hostess background can make it to being a pilot. But this is just groundbreaking news. I would just want to congratulate you for being and doing what you're doing. My second question to you would be, how's the ride been as an airline pilot? The last few years have been extremely turbulent, quite literally, for the airline industry. So how was it for you? You've had first-hand experience. So I would want you to talk about your experiences and how bizarre, how adventurous, how beautiful they would have been.
I get to fly a bit before that pandemic come, and just like the rest of the industry, we did get affected, right? But also it's very amazing that life is like that. Like when you're very busy flying, you enjoy the flying, you learn a lot from the flying. But also when I got a little bit more of the time, which is on ground, which because I fly the passenger aircraft, which is the 777 from the Boeing, we fly half of the cargo, half of the passengers. So we still use this plane to fly the cargo with the cargo fleet. So we do get flying. It just maybe you can know that it should be a little bit less flight, right? Because less passenger will be traveling.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, what I can do now is something that I may not able to do when I'm really, really busy, because this year I also joined the Women's Foundations in Hong Kong, which is a just connecting with people, and also you will get a mentor, and then you'll get to know the other people from other industry. It's a very good chance for me to actually share with them about my industry also, because I'm looking at how less female pilots in the industry, which is very, very curious. How come so many years the percentage just never rise? And I thought, oh, it could be because that's no one actually look into it. It's kind of like we're being very quiet, and so this kind of thing, I just get my time to enjoy the other parts of that. And also the company is has been having the care team for a long time, but we also now having the peer assistant network, which is pilots helps pilots, because a lot of people may not know what pilots could struggle. Like during this kind of pandemic, you'll be maybe everyone else could have been going through some mental problems or mental have to share with people. But then pilots just never can really tell people saying that, oh, I want to go to see your doctors instead, because they just feel, they may feel like it may affect my medicals, because we need the medical for flying. So that's kind of things I learned from these pandemics is makes me very fruitful also, because pilots and designer that I worked before is kind of jobs that even flight attendants, is jobs that we try to think of solution for things. But being in this role as a peer support officer is a role that you don't want to give solutions. You just want to give that support. You just want to be a good listener. And running through those courses with psychologists, and just feel like, oh, I have learned to grow up to make things having an answer. Now I'm learning to say that sometimes we just don't need that answer. And just how can I care of people, and how can I, because I'm in this role, I can actually be a good listener for some people. So I think this kind of thing makes me think that, yes, pandemic never is something that people want it to happen. But at the same time, we think you may be doing something that you normally would not do when you're working so busy in your office, or you may get more time to see your families, or all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course, as you just said it, pandemic is not something that we like, but I think there's a silver lining to everything. And we've probably learned to stay afloat during the pandemic. And I think that's what humans do. You were also talking about the volunteer group programs. So if you could probably throw some more light on that, what exactly is that?
A few volunteer works that I'm working on. One of them is in the companies that doing a peer assistant network, which is pilots help pilots. We listen to each other and on the phone, and it can be enormous. Also, I work in the Hong Kong Youth Aviation Academy, which is outside of the company, but is more like share aviation knowledge, and also share a little bit of experience, and taking them to different events for new generations, to showing them, so if you really want to get into aviation, how will it look like, and what different kind of jobs or different kind of roles that you may be interested. And also I joined the Women's Foundation this year to just share my experience in my industry, and also get to know the other industry, so that I can maybe bring in some of the good ideas in the company. And in company, I got another role is the Female Pilot Advisory Group committees. We are more focusing on the policy of how can we make a better environment for a more diversity company, because as you look at female pilot, we only have around 5%, and or maybe other little groups that maybe is a small amount in a company, but we don't want to let them out. We want to make sure that they equally being fair to be treated. So we work on policy. How can we make like maybe if you're pregnant, how can we make the roster to fit a little bit better for those people? And also maybe when you're new joiners, we get more, maybe even just get more toilets in the female toilets in the training center, because it used to be a very male dominated buildings. These kind of little stuff that the new generation, when they come in, they may not even notice. We even work on the Boeing and the Airbus menus with the big company, making that more gender free, and then it actually changes not just a company, but changes the whole industry, the world, because once the menu from them change, or the airline change, so you just feel like, oh, sometimes you make a tiny little effort, but it's actually making a lot of difference, which makes me very happy. And even the new joiners may not even notice, and enjoying that environment. And I just, when I look back, it's just one kind of my happiness.
So when you say that you want to make it gender free, I'm assuming that of course there is still a lot of gender disparity in the sector. So how difficult, how challenging was it for you to, break the barriers? Did you face some like challenges on the ground, and like how was it for you?
Um, I think the toughest part really is when you start thinking of having that thoughts of being a pilot, and you start to tell people around you and tell them, oh, I got this idea. You will just get so many different kind of noise. It could be from someone who doesn't really know the industry, will say, oh, you may have to study a lot, and it may be too late to start it because you're already having a job and having a degree in a certain area. And then I just at that time I'm just so grateful that I'm using a lot of my teenagers' time to actually explore myself, and knowing that what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and knowing so that when I see that cockpit, I know that, oh, this is something that I really want to go for. And so in the beginning, when a lot of people thought that maybe Christina just can't make it through all these, I still working hard and tell myself that I will be able to make it. That is one thing that I feel like maybe a lot of new generation will be facing the same, just like my situation at that time, which I really want to share with them, saying that if I have gone through like this, and you'll be okay, you'll be able to make it through. And then when I get into trainings in Australia after the 6 months of selections, into the pilot cadet program, which is tailor-made for cadet pilots. In my course, 13 of us, we have 2 girls, and a lot of them actually have like, I think the most difficult part is when I first really knowing that I want to be a pilot, and I start telling people around me and telling them I got this dream, I really want to go for it. But when people look at my backgrounds, I've come from arts backgrounds and then not studying engineer or anything like that, and mostly is male-dominated world. So they kind of feel like, oh, Christina, you're so tiny, you got this long hair, it doesn't looks like you're gonna make it. And my family, there's none of them are come from this industry, so they cannot really give me any insights about it, and really doesn't know that what they really do. So I really don't get that full energy of support. But I'm so grateful that I spent a lot of time knowing myself when I was a teenager, by trying a lot of different things, a lot of different jobs, a lot of different classes, to get to know myself well enough to say that actually this is something that I want to go for. So that is something that I think the new generation is going to face the same when they start having their own dreams and start having their own goals, and tell the people around them. Maybe especially in Hong Kong, a lot of their friends or family will tell them you should study a certain thing so you can make a good living when you grow up, instead of really telling them just go for it, you can have the full support, stuff like that. And the second thing that makes me feel quite tough is when I was doing the trainings. Even I went through the whole interviews for 6 months, I made it, but this is not the end, is only the beginning. I still have to run through all the trainings in Adelaide, in Hong Kong. And when I went for that course, it was 13 of us, and there is 2 girls in this class, and a lot of them actually have holding pilot license, and even one of them are captains, very experienced captains for 10 years from another organizations. And even not having those licenses, a lot of them are from engineer backgrounds, which makes me have to think that I just cannot compare with the others. I just have to work hard and put myself. And they also they will also went out and have fun, and I just have to study. And until really towards the end, I get used to that kind of momentum, get used to that kind of logic thinking, from this industry, it kind of helps me towards the end, because in the beginning I really have to pick up the whole new thing, from a whole artist thought into a more engineer, more problem solving skills, which is totally different. But also want to use my story to encourage the new generation, saying that you can see if I can make a switch like that when I'm not even very young, at when I was just a fresh graduate. It's still possible. It's still manageable, because you don't get the young age at that time, but at the same time, you've got the experience of knowing yourself better after years of working in different fields. So that is stuff that I want to share with them.
So, what's the best thing you feel when you're in air, suspended in air, and you have the control on that cockpit? So, how does that feel like?
Yeah, that feel is really the feel that makes me go into the industry. Just like I said, I go into that 270 degrees views. I think it's the best office in the world, and I get to see, even I've never been to Greenland, I'll see the land there. I'll see how North Pole looks like when I was up in the air, if the sky is clear enough. Also, every time that I step into that cockpit now with the takeoff and landing, I still have that beating in my heart, knowing that, so I really picked the right path, because every time I looking at it, doing the takeoff, doing the landing, I still have that moments of, doesn't know how to describe it, but just knowing this is so right. And that is one thing that it gives me. But at the same time, that why I know this kind of career or this kind of fits me is I have been working as a designer before. I work in office work in the office and do work office hour 9 to 5, or even more. I also know that I'm a person that liking the shift lifestyle more. I can control a little bit more of my own time. A lot of people think that pilots will be so free when they get off the plane and have nothing to do, which is not really true, and I really hope that could be true. But actually, there's a lot of exams every year that you have to keep you updated, and a lot of notice that you have to read. But at the same time, you also get the freedom of doing your own thing when you're off. So you kind of have to manage your time yourself. But that is something that I really like about my job. So I don't get trapped into an office for hours, but I get to really manage different stuff and pushing my productivity. Then I get more time off, stuff like that. That's something that I really enjoy. And one more thing that aviation giving me is you get to work with different people every time. Every time you work with different crew, no matter is cabin crew or flight crew, every time you jump in, it could be a different set of people. But we just work under the same procedure, and you'll be fine. And getting to know a lot of their own experience. Some of them are very senior, like maybe from Red Arrows or from fighter jets. They used to fly the fighters just like Tom Cruise. You can get to ask them about what is your experience at there. Do you really have to train up to stand for so many G's, just like in the movie? And then they will tell you about the real truth. And that is something that I really, really enjoy, getting that get to hear a lot of people's stories and knowing what they learn in life. And I put that into little stories called Life Lessons from the Sky, which I draw illustrations and also putting all these little stories that I have experienced in my industry. And I write it into a little story and put it into my social media, so that the new generation can actually pick up and say, oh, I didn't know that the industry looks like that. And it could be not just about technical stuff, but also about a lot about they can use it in their daily life.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. Last but not the least, I would want you to probably just summarize, 3 key lessons that you would want to tell our, young women entrepreneurs, young women who are looking to fly high and wanting to join the aviation industry, wanting to become pilots. What be your message to them?
My message to them is really give it a try on anything that you can think of, especially when you're young, but not limited to. Just like me switching career, not at my very, very young age, and people make doubts about it, but you get my support. I just want to tell you that I'll have your back, and because I have been through that path. And when just a lot of things you have to try until you know that how hard it is, and you never know, your limits could be pushed. And the new generations and the other women's and also other people, I just want to share that just try when you have a move in your hearts and have that touch in your hearts, because if you never try, you just never know how it goes and how is your limits, and you never know how the end result could be. So I just want to encourage you to do that. And also I want to encourage you to be thankful throughout the path, no matter to the people who supported you or not supported you. They're all kinds of energies for you to actually pursue your dreams, especially for people who are senior or any mentors that who give you a few words that driving you through the path. Be thankful to that, and taking it, these thankful feelings, and pay it forward to the new generations, which is something that I want to share with all of you.
Thank you so much, Christina. You were amazing. I really wish you like so many more flights and wish you good luck. Thank you so much. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Meha, and thank you for TD for interviewing me, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. See you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.